Captain Davis from the 962nd Airborne Air Control Squadron. So my question is, now that you all have made it to chief, the highest enlisted rank, how do we get in the position to be asked, like, to make policy changes? Like, because that's the thing about me, and it's one of my statements that I say when policy changes come out or they don't change. I say, well, nobody asked me. And I know they got surveys and stuff, but it's like, when you're in the room and policy changes are made, who is in the room with you, and how do they venture out to everybody else to make those changes?
Are you talking unit level policy?
Unit level, Air Force level, DOD level, like who is in the room making these decisions? Because I get to the point where it's like, we always talking, it's like, well, it makes too much sense, and that's the Air Force. It's like, well, why didn't they ask us, and how did we not get to this level where this could have been an easy fix? So who's in the room making these decisions?
So you said LT, right? Lieutenant? Captain, sorry, sir. Okay, so, sir, I'll tell you right now, I love the question because your question goes back to a lot of professional development that I do, even at the NCO and senior NCO level when they're coming into those tiers, and even when I talk to my CGOs, you're in those rooms. You as captains should be in those rooms. But when you ask the question of who's in the room, that means you're not being afforded the opportunity to be in the room. And that's where I think is rooted by your question. So how do you fight yourself to get in those rooms is what I'm going to try to share with you. OIC level platforms that you probably run. I don't know how big your group or your team is, but that's where it starts, right? You as the officer in charge, you might have an NCOIC or superintendent with you, being that you're a captain. You guys should be formulating some sort of opinion-based, information that you guys need to take to now the next level, which is the management level, which I would imagine is where your commander and his command team sits. If your commander is not reciprocating down to you and say, hey, Captain, what do you guys have from this team, flight, section, whatever, then that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. And that's the reason why folks like yourself are sitting there like, how in the heck did these decisions get hatched that I had no buy-in in? But it goes back about a couple of times, a few minutes ago when I talked about somebody's not setting the table. We're on the table, but nobody set it because we don't have the right environment that shows that we believe in the grassroots of what people are saying with the ground truth, and it's coming up to the upper management level to at least look into whether that particular idea is going to be something that they kind of go with and it's fieldable, right? So there's something going on in your particular situation where the communication, the comm plan is not right. What I recommend you do is you talk to your senior NCO who should, all caps, how to get that to where whatever you're talking about, that, hey guys, I want my team and more importantly, something I'm trying to get forth or get put forth to kind of get up. I want to make sure that we get those ideas up, because for you being a captain, if you're not getting what your folks are bringing to you and it's not getting up to upper management, then that makes your ability to lead pretty hard, right? Because your folks feel like, hey man, we're hitting the captain with everything, man, but ain't nothing changing. Captain's frustrated. The unit, or at least the section anyway, is not thriving. So I think we need you. If I were you, sir, my recommendation to you rather is you need to start with the senior NCO. But here's the thing, right? If those are just not repairable because obviously you want to get something done quickly, then go find the chief in the squadron. Go find the senior in the squadron, because they know what is wrong or how to fix what I'm sitting here talking about, or what I'm sure the chiefs here are going to say as well. So, but that is concerning, and I'd like to talk to you more offline if I could, if you want to, because you being a captain, that puzzles me that you have that issue or that concern of how information is not getting up, and more importantly, not getting collected at the appropriate levels.
So Captain, great question. I asked that question, the same question my entire career. Like, I want to be in the room, right? When they have Corona over in Florida, when they have all the 4 stars, I was that A1C. I said, get me in the room so I can tell my 4-star generals, these are the things that matters to MNOG, right? I want to be in those rooms, but unfortunately, no one will pay for my travel to go to Florida, to go to Corona, right?
I was there. They made me hold doors.
There you
That's
go.
what I did as an airman at MacDill.
So I'll tell you. So if it's a squadron policy, your chief is in the room, your first sergeant is in the room, and your commanders, and your flight commanders, or operational, or your flight commanders are in the room making those policies that affects everyone in the squadron. If it's a wing policy, the same thing goes. Your group commanders, they in the room with the wing commanders before they make those policies. If it's an Air Force policy, I can tell you, General Brown doesn't make all the decisions by himself. He has a final approval authority, but I'll tell you who's in the room with him before they slap the table and say, yeah, this is not official. That's going to affect you and I. Your MAJCOM commanders are in those rooms when those decisions are being made. And for the enlisted side, we have our MAJCOM command chief. So for us at PACAP, Chief Wolf is in the room. He's in the room making sure that my voices is being heard when he sits in the room with the Chief Master in the Air Force, right? So I would say we have to do a better job as leaders within our home formation to make sure, like, what matters to you and your airmen, we have to make sure we elevate those things up, right? When the air policy came out, it started from somewhere, right? And he made it, trust me, they did not craft whatever the end result wasn't just crafted out of nowhere. It started from the ground level. It started from a unit, then the base, then the MAJCOM, all the way to the policymakers. So like Chief Wormley said, we just have to make sure, like, wherever the policy is coming from, squadron, group, wing, MAJCOM, or Air Force policy, there's somebody in the room, not necessarily you, but we have to make sure that we are getting, whoever is going to be in the room, I have to make sure, like, they hear what matters to OG, all right?
And we're all now serving under Chief of Staff of the Air Force, whose second action order is bureaucracy, right? And to address kind of the red tape and processes that we have created for ourselves that slow us down and make us less lethal and make us less responsive and adaptable as a force, right? So if ever there was a time over the next 4 years, things are going to move faster and change quicker than they ever have. But we have to be smart about how we present that information forward, right? We can, and your chief has this magical ability. All of a sudden, you pin this stripe on, and you don't have obstacles anymore, right? You can get things on the table in a way that you can't even as a senior master sergeant who has a tremendous amount of authority and access. Right? So some of that is use what's available to you, but we also need to understand how do we present information, and maybe that is, Chief OG was talking about talking papers, right, and position papers, and finding that audience and forcing yourself in the door, through that courage that Chief Wormley's talking about, and get that issue on the table, whatever it is. But you have to do it smartly, because if all we're going at is, is just fire, right? Staff sergeant me didn't understand that, but it took me a while to kind of understand. It's not just about how loud you say it, it's what you say, how you say it, and who you say it to. And so you've got to align those things to affect the change. And more and more and more, what we're expecting of ourselves, what we're expecting of those that we are charged to follow, is to not lead by policy letter, right? And make decisions based on the environment, based on the culture, based on what people need in order to accomplish the mission, and not break people while we're doing it. And I know that's going a little bit more than just sort of at the level in your organization what to do, but I think it's important that we start framing the way we think based on what General Brown has charged us with doing.
Yeah. And so yeah, like, I'm not at the table for sure, right? I don't get my stripe till December. So I'm definitely not at that table yet, but I'm at the table in the squadron, or I know somebody who is at that table, right? And my somebody is Chief Wolf. Like, I love me some Chief Wolf. I don't know that there's ever been a person that he doesn't listen to, right? So when we do our immersion tours, or he just came through the other day, right? I don't set up my squadron to like, oh, here's the things that we do, or like,
Everything's
I don't
amazing.
care, like, right? Like, nope, let's get our innovation stuff in here. Let's make sure we talk about it with him. So now his ears are on it, right? So I know our stuff with nutrition and body fat analysis and PT testing, boom, it's in his ear. He's like, yes, I want every base in PACAF to have an in-body composition by blah, blah, blah date. Like, make that happen, right? And then we also have an initiative, another member outside of the med group in the med group outside of my squadron, has a great idea with diversity inclusion group, and I just know where to sell it, right? So Chief Wolf is coming, hey, I need you to brief this. Hey, diversity inclusion is at the wing, I need you to brief it here. And sooner or later, all these people that are listening or at the table are gonna hear what's going on, right? And his idea on how to have basically like diversity inclusion reps within each squadron so people can come talk to them, right? If you got a D&I problem as a senior airman to a staff sergeant, your staff sergeant is discriminating against you for whatever reason, I know somebody that is outside of my chain that I can go talk to, and I can report these things, and hopefully we can get after the problem, right? And I was like, man, that is an awesome idea. Let's start briefing it everywhere we possibly can, right? So Senior Master Sergeant Meinberg got him in almost every single thing he possibly could in the last month, and it is being heard. It's already at PACAF now. There's so many innovation or ways to get innovation out there nowadays, and I think we're listening to airmen now more than ever before because they have great ideas. Like I'm sometimes a little bit out of touch of what happens at the ground level, right? I go out there and hang out with people, but for real, what's going on to make a decision, I want to hear from them, right? Because they got better ideas than I do, and then I can just tell the right people about it. So I think there's definitely avenues right now, and people are listening more than ever.